Mm. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well, wherever you are. This is Kenyan Revolutionary. Today, I'm early, a little bit earlier than usual, but I'm here nevertheless. So please take a seat if you just got a notification. Karibu. Join the class. Let's discuss what's going on in Kenya politics, or should I say Kenyan politics. A lot's been happening, as you know. Lots of distraction, whether it's the Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, impeachment pending at the legislative body. It's up to the Senate now because the motion has been moved, have been voted on to go ahead. So it's up to the Senate. Then again, we expect if the legislative body, the Senate, and the House and the National Assembly, if they successfully impeach the deputy president, we all expect him to go to the courts. And either way, as I've reiterated before in my previous lives, I've always said that this man will not be, Rigathi Gachagua will not be impeached. But nevertheless, today, let's just talk about a couple of things. Let's start with our flavor of the month, as we say, as I say. Kebaso is not stopping. He is keeping us busy. He is contenting himself. Yes, he had a live today. Karibu, Brother Benson. I see you. Nice seeing you, my brother. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know anything about Brother Benson, he does the same thing I do here. Very good analysis, political analysis in his channel, Brother Benson Media, BBM. Go check him out on YouTube. He has a very able, intellectual panelist, among others. Makoure, not Makoure. Is it Makobura? Not Makoure. And Migoda. Very nice show. Please don't miss it. Go there and subscribe, share, comment, like, and all the good stuff. Okay? So anyway, let's get started. Today we'll just freestyle our way out of this. I will start with statement that Kebaso made a few hours ago. Actually, it's not too far ago. So we shall get there. But again, you know the deal. Before we get started, you know the rule of the game. You know the first order of business is that you like the video. Like the video if you're already subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, please don't hesitate. Go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment, do all the good stuff. Now that I've got that out of the way, can we get to the business? Sawa. And by the way, put your notification on. Put your notification on. And all of you who are going to watch this on repeat, please do the same. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and put your notification on so every time I come live, you can always watch my lives and you can join in. I can give you the link if you want to join the studio, and you can have a discussion with me. All right, let's get started. Who are we going to start with? The flavor of the month, Kebaso. He had something to say. Morara, that is, in case you're wondering who I'm referring to. Morara shot a video today, and I would like to share it with you so you can have an idea of what we are about to just dissect politically. Here is the video. I'm sorry, my connection might be a little bit challenged, but we're going to soldier through, right? Here's Kebaso.
Fellow Kenyans, brothers and sisters, we have all come to the profound realization that our country is on sale. Shockingly, the buyer is also the seller. Kenya yetu inauzwa, na cha kushangaza muuzaji ndiye mnunuzi. In the year 2013, a group of powerful individuals sat in a room and made a plan to be the wealthiest men in the world, to the disenfranchisement of many Kenyans. They hatched a grand scheme that would earn them an empire only similar to the Russian oligarchs. It was simple. Steal as much as you can, make Kenya poor, as much as you can, then bring back the money that has been stolen and buy everything that is valuable in Kenya, then dominate the people as their landlords. However, they had to overcome one obstacle. Kenya had just received a new constitution, which required every shilling of revenue, including money borrowed, to be deposited in the consolidated fund. From there, it would be allocated by Parliament to the recurrent and development expenditure, withdrawals of which would be made with the approval of the Controller of Budget, and the Auditor General would audit it. These individuals decided to cheat the law. They tasked the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, then the Chairman of Budget, to table and pass an amendment to the Public Finance Management Act, which will allow them to open government accounts abroad and to even spend abroad. The unconstitutional law allowed them to open several accounts across the world without parliamentary approval, borrowing money on behalf of the people of Kenya, stealing it without getting to the consolidated fund. A very convenient escape from the control of budget and the Auditor General's audit. Since that time, fellow Kenyans, our country has been robbed in a despicable manner. So much money has been stolen that the figures look absolutely unbelievable. It is even difficult for me as Morara Kebaso to make Kenyans understand the magnitude and billions of trillions when most of them have never touched 1 million shillings in their life. This money was stashed abroad in bank accounts across various continents, from Hong Kong to Cayman Islands, to Jersey City, to Dubai, to Panama, to Malta. Money was stolen and kept abroad. This money was meant for your health care. It was meant for your children's education. It was meant for your own education. It was meant for development projects across the nation that would save Kenya and that would give millions of jobs. And it was stolen with uttermost greed and reckless abandon. Our country has been deliberately made poor. Why? It is because they want to make it cheap for the buyer. State corporations that employ very many Kenyans have been run down to intentionally make losses so that these individuals can justify privatization of these institutions. The hyenas of Kenya have decided they want to eat their own children, and they have accused them of smelling like goats. Unfortunately, the hyenas want to eat everything, including national assets that are sensitive to national security. A case in point is the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The Kenyan law does not permit any Kenyan to buy any public asset unless through a very tedious process under the Asset and Disposal Act and many other laws. But here comes a foreigner who has been permitted to own 20% of our airport after a 30-year lease. What a shock. Something that any Kenyan cannot be allowed to do, regardless of how much money they have. And yet these are foreigners, and they are allowed to own this. The purported foreigners are not even foreigners. They are proxies for Kenyans who hide behind foreign names and foreign faces. Our money that has been stolen since 2013 when Uhuru Kenyatta was president has started coming back through proxies in the face of investors. They call it public-private partnership or privatization or foreign investment. Very sweet words for state capture and money laundering. In February of 2024, the Cabinet of Kenya, led by President William Ruto, approved the following state corporations for sale. The first one was the National Bank of Kenya, where the government of Kenya owns 22% and NSSF owns 48%. Consolidated Bank of Kenya, where the Deposit Protection Fund owns 50% on behalf of the government of Kenya. Development Bank of Kenya, where ICDC owns 89% on behalf of the government of Kenya. Agrochemical and Food Corporation, ADC, where ADC owns 28% and ICDC owns 28%, all on behalf of the government of Kenya. These are state corporations that were supposed to be sold or privatized. Kenya Wine Agencies, 72% is owned by ICDC. East African Portland Cement, warehouses were demolished recently. NSSF owns 27% and government of Kenya owns 25%. All this is the government of Kenya ownership. Kenya Meat Commission was to be privatized, where the government owns 100%. New KCC, Yamaziwa, government of Kenya owns 100%. The Numerical Machining Complex under the Kenya Railways Corporation, 51% owned by University of Nairobi and 49% owned by Kenya Railways Corporation. Miwani Sugar Company, which is under receivership, the government of Kenya owns 49%. Muhoroni Sugar Company, where ADC owns 16%. Cabernet Hotel, where Kenya Trading Corporation owns 98.2%. Mount Elgon Lodge Limited, Kenya Trading Corporation owns 72%. Kitale Municipal Council owns 13%, and Trans Nzoia County Council owns 13%. These were to be sold, all of them. Golf Hotel Limited, Kakamega Municipal Council owns 20%. Sunset Hotel, Kenya Trading, KTDC owns 95.4%, and Kisumu City owns 4.6%. Kenya Safari Lodges, KTDC owns 63%. AWS owns 0.02%. Kenyan, government of Kenya owns 70%. This was to be privatized. Kenya Pipeline Corporation, 100% owned by the government of Kenya, where money was stolen recently. It was to be privatized. Kenya Ports Authority, 100% owned by the government of Kenya, was to be privatized. There is another agency called the South Nyanza Sugar Company. It was also to be privatized, where the government of Kenya owns 98%. Nzoia Sugar, where the government of Kenya owns 97%. All these are state assets of great value. They employ several Kenyans, but these assets were supposed to be privatized in the name of allowing them to make profit, when they've been intentionally run down and made to make losses, so that the people who've stolen our money can find something to buy. Ladies and gentlemen, you and I know the buyers, and the buyer is also the seller, and the seller is the buyer. The mission for these people is to build empires that can be passed down through their descendants like royal families. But they want to do this by impoverishing and making us all poor. They want to do this all on the backs and in the sweat and tears and blood of dying Kenyans who can barely afford to eat. Today, we stand on ashes. We stand on a broken country that cannot afford basic necessities of life. Our natural resources, mined and taken abroad to develop other countries with no benefit to the Kenyan people except corrupt politicians in power. Our gold, our petroleum, our coltan, our gemstones, our titanium, our mica, our diatomite, all gone. Stolen by white people who bribe black people in power because they are too greedy to think of the future of their children. We have become beggars in our own nation. We are so angry and bitter that sometimes we forget and fight amongst ourselves. We have lost any hope in our future. We are in a state of darkness, a thick smoke has engulfed our nation. We are a population which is poor, destitute, and drowning in the tears of sadness. While we continue to cry about the state of our nation, some individuals and their children are living large and enjoying fine things. They have bought helicopters, private jets, rare cars, luxury boats, expensive watches, expensive belts. They have bought holiday homes around the world, and they have invested in building private cities. They have bought our banks. They control the sectors of our life. We cannot move without fueling in a petrol station that is owned by them. They process our food, and we eat their brands. We have become beggars at home. Fellow Kenyans, were we born to be poor, sick, and die? Aren't we entitled to human dignity? Why should we live like slaves at home? People of our nation, we have tolerated mediocrity for far too long. We have tolerated incompetent politicians who steal our money, insult us, abduct us, kill us, and continue to lead us as if they own us. We have become like pieces of furniture in a rich man's house. We need to liberate ourselves. We must set ourselves free from tribalism, corruption, and poor governance. We must liberate our minds. We need a new dream. And the time is now, not tomorrow. As a young man in this nation, I have tried my best to open your eyes. I continue to try every day. I have suffered arbitrary arrest. I have slept in cold police cells. I've been hit by metallic chairs on my head and on my neck. I've been threatened, trolled, and insulted. My privacy has been invaded. I've lost my property. My previously quiet life has been turned upside down into chaos where every word I utter can be misunderstood and turned back against me in a sharp knife of condemnation. But I still stand tall, and I hold my head high. I refuse to buy fear. I refuse to give up, and I refuse to live like a slave. In my commitment, I've inspired many of you to join me in this journey. Now this is a movement for change. I don't claim to be perfect, but I am passionate. I'm a team leader and a team player at the same time. I believe we can change it. Ninaamini itabadilika. It is time for us to come together. We need to put aside our ego, our personal pride, or self-importance of any kind. We need to reason together as a nation. We have different ideas. Some believe we should create systems and not individuals. I believe we should mentor individuals of integrity to take over systems and institutions. Well, we can disagree to agree. In that conversation, let everyone's voice be heard in silence. Let us not troll and deplatform those who have sacrificed to present themselves for the burden of leadership. Not everyone can lead. Some of us need to follow and support leadership by mentorship, correction, and prayer. Theirs is a journey of sacrifice, a yoke so heavy to bear, but in stride and grace they bear it. On this day, I want to thank those who have stood with me, those who do not know me but defend my reputation on social media and in gatherings of every kind, those who fund my activities with their hard-earned money without counting losses. I thank the brave soldiers that fight with me every day. Together we have achieved much. Without political power, we have revived some stalled projects. We have exposed corruption, and in some instances, we have prevented it from happening. We are giants. The work we do is superhuman. We should do more of this every day and inspire other Kenyans to also do what they can do in their small ways and big ways. I also thank Kenyans of integrity who have stood with the nation. Notably, I want to recognize the effort of Honorable Kio Mtata, Honorable Richard Onyonka, Honorable Gathoni Wamuchomba, Honorable Jimmy Wanjigi, Eric Omondi, media personalities, content creators like Crazy Kena, musicians who have sung about bad governance like Nonini and Shanky, the Law Society of Kenya, judges, bloggers, spoken word artists like Oeba, YouTubers, TikTokers, Kenyans on X, civil society groups, whistleblowers, and all Kenyans of good intent. If I've not mentioned it, it's not because you're little, but because I may not be able to mention all of you. May you live to see the change that you're fighting for. And may you sacrifice, and may your sacrifice be rewarded in abundance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the government has learned about your sacrifice and your relentlessness. To divide and conquer you, they have opened several battles. They want to wear you down and scatter you so that you fight different battles in different directions. In less than 3 months, the country has witnessed controversial legislation on the extension of term limits of the president and parliament and on the agriculture bill, a disastrous healthcare system, worker strike, a divisive impeachment, university funding quagmire, an airport theft, abductions, killings, and so much more that we are confused which war to fight and which one to wait. This is deliberate and very intentional. It is the mission of those in power to wear us down and drain our energy. It's an emotional fatigue strategy. We must forge an alliance. We must combine our efforts and combine our problems into one message: regime change. We need to completely overhaul the system. We need to recall members of parliament. We need a fresh election for the presidency before 2027. We are impatient. We cannot wait for 2027. We need to wipe out this corrupt system and their cousins, whichever way they come. To achieve this, we must fight for the reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, which has been deliberately dragged in the courts so that it is not formed. We need various efforts working towards the same goal. We may not do the same thing, but everybody can do something. Lawyers should file cases. Online activists should whip the masses. Musicians should make music. Journalists should inform the public. And every Kenyan should do whatever they can, including influencing other Kenyans in the mobilization against regime change. It will not be easy, but it will be worth it. And in all things, ninaamini itabadilika. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay. That was Morara today, Morara. My reaction to that message is it's actually a very good message because he highlights what is basically ailing this nation, which is the elite political class who have looted this. The resources of this country are at the helm. Most of them are in powerful positions, and they are pretending they're running our parastatals to the ground, telling us that they need to be privatized, only for them to again use their proxy companies to buy off or run this organization for their own profit. So I like what his message. I like the fact that he's calling for unity. Every person that agrees that we are heading in the wrong direction should come together, wrap their heads around one thing, which is regime change. And the regime change should happen now, not 2027. Now, yes, we need to reconstitute the IEBC. Very positive message. I agree with it. Like I say, I have my own reservations about Morara. But as far as his message, it was on point. And yeah, it's very well put. So I would encourage that. I give him 7 out of 10 as far as messaging. It's a sober message. And I hope it continues exposing and reminding Kenyans to refocus on what's important and not be caught up in the shenanigans. Okay. Hopefully it seems like somebody maybe came and sat down with him and talked him out of, the empty talk that he was, the lives that he was given. So this is a good step from Morara. Again, if any Kenyan, let me just make it very clear. I'm not changing my position yet, but I will emphasize this, that any Kenyan that calls for a regime change for the better, especially after, he highlights what's wrong with us, what's wrong with this nation, how the political elite are taking advantage of us, and is genuinely trying to, if he's genuinely trying to fight them and is not being bought by the very people, then we'll gladly and gleefully support that movement. As of right now, I'm still cautiously optimistic about this young man. I'm not convinced yet, despite the wonderful message, but a good message it is, and I applaud him for that. Okay. So now, let me say hi to Gypsy Corner, who also is joining us on the live. Nice seeing you, as I see. Now, ODM had their own meeting today. Some youth, something, I don't know. And Orengo had something today. If I'm not wrong, Orengo is there. Is he the secretary? I don't know what Orengo is nowadays. ODM is all over the place. Apparently, they're trying to distance themselves from this whole Kenya Kwanza thing. But let me just play it real quick so you can hear it from the horse's mouth. I haven't even heard what they're saying. Let me play it so we can all hear it from Orengo and make up our mind on what he's trying to communicate to Kenyans. Here is Orengo.
The sky. We are going to keep our identity. We are going to keep our vision, and we are going to remain the best organized party, not only in the Republic of Kenya, but in the region. With that vision, with that organization, and with the discipline that our members have, I think the sky is not the limit. The sky is just a target, but we aim beyond the sky. And I know we are going to succeed.
That this party will retain its identity, even in light of recent developments with the formation of the broad-based government. That tells me that the young people in this party know who they are, they know themselves, and they know their party. And therefore, Mr. President, I want to congratulate you for continuing with the good work of ensuring that you fly the flag of ODM as high as possible.
We are a party with an identity, and our identity is to promote social justice and democracy in this country. We are not going to seize that space. We will continue doing that, even though some of our members are in the broad-based government.
OIL is going to retain its identity and the identity of our mother party, which is the ODM party. Branding is going to another level, and we're going to be felt all over the country. We're also beginning a countrywide activation of our programs to capture the new membership, to add new members into our party, and at the same time, also to recruit many.
Okay. Hi, ODM. ODM, they are shamelessly telling us that they are trying to revamp themselves, calibrate their bearings. The thing with the ODM is that they have nowhere, they cannot convince Kenyans that they are a party, the best organized party, or whatever the case is that Orengo is trying to tell us. You cannot dine with Ruto or join the broad-based handshake government by this murderous, corrupt dictator called William Ruto and try to convince us that, you know what, don't worry about our us being in one government with this dictator. We are looking out for you. We are the party that you should believe in. I mean, do they think we are that stupid? Like that's sometimes these politicians I'm sorry. You cannot insult. Don't insult us, please, 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 please. Sifuna and the rest of their terrorist organization called ODM. I said before, ODM is a terrorist organization, and I say it for a good reason. I told you why, and if you want the reason, I'll tell you. Gypsy Corner said Morara started just the way Kasmuel Makoure started. Who knew about Kasmuel Makoure? Change of heart to join Team Looters. I'm not changing my mind towards the new pop-up leaders and parties. Me too. I haven't. Whilst his message today on that live seemed sober, I still do not believe in him. I do not. And I have my reasons why, as to why I'm not buying. I'm not boarding. Mr. Morara, I'm not boarding. Sorry. But anyway, as we move on, there's much happening too. You know, there's a lot of destruction. As I said, Adani is trying to put the signatures together and get a hold of the JKIA and other Kenyan airports. So we are not asleep. We know. Gaitho reminded us of other detractors that historically were used by Moi to distract the masses. Let me show you. I like what he wrote about Harun Mwau, if you remember. Karibu Kenya Gaka. Pen Nyagaka. Nyagaka, I see you. Nyagaka, karibu. Friend of the show. Let me read something that Gaito wrote, which was very, 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 very interesting. We can draw parallels from this little excerpt about Harun Mwau. If I can only load it. I don't know why this thing is taking so long to load this information. Give them here. But what we're doing, hello Nyagaka. Nyagaka is telling us, Orengo of the 80s is a surprise today. What a shame. That is true. Orengo those were the young Turks. He was the Morara of the 80s when he was fighting Moi. But now he's with the corrupt government and he's trying to convince us otherwise. So it's a shame. Gypsy Corner is saying, right. Oh, he was responding to Brother Benson. Okay, if I can only. What's wrong with this crap? All right, let's try again. Okay, so here it is. Hopefully you guys can see the screen. Can you see the screen? Hopefully you can. I will show it very quickly so we can read it together. Let's read it together. Here is Francis Gaito says, to weaken the opposition movement in the 90s, Moi foisted sketchy characters to keep the masses mesmerized and distracted. Sorry. One such character was John Harun Mwau, Mandevu, who'd pulled up with a bang whilst flaunting his political outfit, PIC, which is Party of Independent Candidates of Kenya. It was thus a shocker when, a few years after the 1997 elections, he was appointed as the first chairman of the KACC, Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, now known as EACC, a job he performed dismally at. But the bottom line is he was a project talking a big game, but ultimately embedded embedded to scuttle revolutionary sentiment. You, in the head idiots, have embraced the charlatan called Morara, whose dressing is literally copied from Ruto's designs. He has derailed you from the issues you used to love dissecting, and now it's sideshow after sideshow. Like, how sick are you? Why are the most educated people also the dumbest? That's how Nairobians elect trash like Mike Sonko and Aladwa or Johnson Sakaja. Mumeja kwa vichwa zenu. Let me give you a pro tip. Anyone you see endorsed and celebrated by Mwabili Mwagodi is a scam. I choose to use my voice to call out inconsistency and duplicity in the movement, however much time it takes. Okay? So, I know Nyagaka will take issue with that with that post by Gaito, because Nyagaka is a huge Morara fan. Again, Francis Gaito, somebody who's probably in his 40s, if not 50s, is reminding us of characters like Harun Mwau, who was being used by Moi during the 90s, you know, propped up in order to act as, you know, this savior or whatever, the new pop-up, as Gypsy Corner will call him, to scuttle any revolutionary movement. Harun Mwau, if you know, he was named by George Saitoti. You remember Saitoti when Saitoti went and read that list of individuals who were suspected of dealing in drugs in Kenya. Him along with Hassan Joho and Kabogo and Mike Sonko, among others. And shortly after, the former vice president Saitoti lost his life in a helicopter, which was due to some poisoning. You know the you know the story, okay? So, yeah, that was a reminder. That's why I would urge people to be very careful with everyone that comes in that seems to be the new flavor. Even Omosh Jakababa has something to say about Mr.
Kasimweli. Tukaona sasa tunachukua Kasimweli tuweke. Tukapata yule mjinga kushinda kila mtu je. Alienda kunywa chai na kwa hiyo. Sasa hiyo amechukua Gaucho na nani? Na Kasimweli wameingia kwa serikali. Waje kupigania tumbu zenyu. Mpigania wa Kenya. Angalia wa Kenya. Watu wanaumia, jamaa ongei. Wanaongea ati mimi nikipata mwete kilala njia sauri yao. Bwana mimi nipate yangu, ukule uende kwa nyumba. Ati tuone umepanda ndege sasa wewe ni mtu mkubwa. Hakuna. Mavijana tuchukue kura. Na niliona huyu mbunge wa nani, huyu mwenye alipiga alisema nani apigwe. Morara apigwe. Huyu Kajwang tunakupenda lakini ulifanya vibaya. Ulifanya vibaya kupiga nani Morara kupigwa. Ulifanya vibaya. Na raundi tunasema huyu Morara wenye mnadharau hapa. Upende usipende ataenda mahali. Tutakuwa nyuma yake. Na sio wengine wanampinga wao ati Morara afanye kazi. Kuna understanding ya Morara na yako wewe unampinga ni kama usiku na mchana. Hawa. Iwezekani. Ule jamaa anasema vitu yenye iko. Ruto na kila mara kila mahali anatenga. Nitafanyia. Wewe unakubali utafanyiwa. Napiga makofi. Atafanya. Hatafanya. So, kama hujachukua kura, chukua kura. Kama una ID, uko na bibi yako ID, chukua bibi yako ID. Kama uko hapo umefikiza 12 years, wacha ile 18. Yetu ni 12 years ID. Watu wamefikiza 12 years, tafuta ID. Bora tu William Samoei timu yake yote waende nyumbani. Wakenya wasikie vizuri.
Okay. Jeremiah Kioni also had something to say about the ongoings, the Kenyan politics, regarding Gachagua and so forth. As you can see, the mountain is divided, but for the most part, they are aligning themselves with Rigathi Gachagua. Of course, you can see, anyone can see that all this process, this impeachment process, is a sham. Let me just play Kioni. Let's listen to Kioni's view in short, briefly.
Get signatures from across the country. What we should be thinking now is also how to get signatures from across the country to now actualize the impeachment of William Ruto and his whole entire administration. Ili tumalize hii kazi ameanza. Asante sana. What we should be thinking now.
I'm being reminded by Nani. Gypsy is telling me, please don't sleep on the wheel. Or drawn in Omosh Wana also has his shares. He has nothing to say. I don't trust it. That's true. Omosh Jakababa, you know, as much as entertaining as he is, we know he says everything depending on who pays him. So he's good for, you know, shits and giggles. But yeah, I agree with you. Now, for those of you who don't know, Business Daily is reporting, another news is saying mobile money pay bill and till number accounts will be converted into electronic tax registers, ETRs, from the end of December to weed out tax evaders and boost revenue by billions of shillings, a senior economic advisor to President William Ruto has said. That's what Mr. Nani, what's his name? Moses Kuria. Have you guys seen that? Moses Kuria is saying that. So M-Pesa bills to become KRA tax registered by December 25th. By Christmas, ile pesa mnatumiana kwa M-Pesa itakuwa taxable, I guess. I don't know. That's crazy. That is crazy, 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 crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, we need regime change. We need it now because this regime has lost its mind. Now, Nelson Amenya also had something to say to what's going on here. Let me read Nelson Amenya. This is just a morning video. Here is what he's saying. Rule by distraction regarding impeachment. Nelson Amenya. To rule by distraction is a time-tested tool of autocratic and authoritarian regimes. It is a go-to move for non-democratic regimes when faced with a challenge, domestic or international. As the name suggests, this approach is simple but effective. The idea is to create enough chaos and distraction that all eyes remain on that. The key is to make normal a moving target, i.e., change what it means to be normal on a regular basis. Doing so allows for drastic steps to take place behind the smoke screen and distraction. Why this is dangerous for democracy? A democracy relies on checks and balances in the system, for example, our failed parliament. Transparency through checks and balance allows people to continue trusting the governance institutions. Unless the people trust the governance or government institutions, they will not trust the democracy. In a rule by distraction situation, the survival of the administration depends on the people not being able to process the complete information. By creating multiple simultaneous distractions, the administration overloads the attention of its citizens. In essence, then they are not lying to the people. They are just creating enough alternative explanations that the truth becomes debatable. Add political polarization to this and consistent bashing of the other side, and you have a loyalist ODM and UDA following locked up that will disregard anything that questions the government. Msibebu akili watu wangu. And I'm glad he says that. Amenya, that's a very good piece by Amenya, because I've been just, yelling every day here that these are all calculated, well-calculated distractions, because if you look at this whole impeachment by Gachagua, again, I will stress it for one more time, for the umpteenth time, it is designed to evoke emotions. It is designed to divide people along ethnic lines. Of course, automatically, it will cause, chaos, not chaos, but, people will be, riled up, especially people of Mount Kenya, because Ruto understands. I mentioned this, and I'm not getting off the topic. I'm just saying this. One thing that the ruling class of Kenya, and when I say the ruling class, I'm talking about not just Ruto, I'm talking about Uhuru, Raila, Kalonzo, all these colonial puppets that want to perpetuate this rule, continue with this rule, and maintain their power and wealth. They strongly depend on ethnic division. That's their strength. If people get out of their tribal cocoons and come together and have a patriotic outlook, then they're in trouble because they know they will be held accountable. And that's something that's, they survive and thrive on people being apart. People aligning themselves through tribal alliance as far as the political field is concerned. So with this impeachment, the reason why this impeachment is so important to them, it's because, number one, it does something, like I said, it evokes emotions, strong emotions. The mountain now is rattled to the core. You can hear people making videos talking about Ruto can forget the votes of the central province or people of the mountain. You can hear people saying their Twitter pages saying, we should never ever have another Kalenjin president ever. That's exactly what they want you to do. Create that division. And then you have the useful idiots like Kaluma and Robert Alai, who are trying to create this perception that, oh, now Luos are happy. We have Mbadi as the head of Treasury or whatever the case is. And we have Nani anaitwaje, the former mega governor, being a minister of I don't know what. This is exactly what they want. So in essence, that what does that do? It divides people along tribal lines. So the lawyers can align themselves with ODM and UDA, okay? And the mountain will feel left out because they see Gachagua as their son or whatever the case is. And that's why you see all these fights with the Chungwa and the rest of them, okay? And Kioni and whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because that's how they want it. That's why this thing is so. And as I explained yesterday in my the session yesterday, that's why you see these politicians, MPs to be exact, while they were making their submission, they were so animated. You'd think this is the most important issue that needs to be dealt with, as if it's a priority to Kenyans right now. And I like the fact that young people, when we were having that so-called public participation, they made the point that when it comes to issue that really affects Kenyans, these people don't show up and fight for the Kenyans. But if it's something to do with, removing the perceived enemy, which is a sham anyway, they're really quick to gather around and give their groveling speeches on the days, okay? So that's what I mean. That's why I'm saying this is a whole choreographed, poorly acting job, but it's part of the big plan. As I've said, pay attention to the Constitution. Pay attention to the Constitution. Pay attention to the Constitution. It's coming. It's going to be brought. They just don't know how to bring it yet. And let me tell you something. If I was to prophesy, after the failed impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, because remember, the goal is not to remove Rigathi Gachagua from being our deputy president. The goal is to evoke emotions, to create this division, because whether Rigathi is impeached or not, it will be clear, there'll be clear animosity created, politically speaking, between the people of Mount Kenya or Central Province, let me just use that, and anybody that's aligned with this administration, which is a Kalenjin-led administration, and everybody in the alliance, which means basically the lawyers in the West and Luos. Okay, that is what is meant to create. So after that is created, and we shall have all this, tension, political temperature rise, that's when they will try to inject this whole idea of changing the constitution. Because now you'll hear them come out and say, you know what, we cannot have this rogue deputy president who survived because maybe the judiciary will serve his behind, because if the judiciary look at the grounds in which they want to impeach him, those are not impeachable offense. I'm sorry, it's not enough. But it is done by design. They're doing so. It's meant, designed to fail, so to speak. So when they fail, once the Rigathi is not impeached, of course the temperature will still be high. Wakina Gachagua will be making all sorts of speeches when they're in Central Province and everywhere. Okay, and the Kalumas and Robert Alais and the idiots in ODM shall be making their speeches to heighten the political temperatures in the country. And that's when they'll start saying, okay, since they want to do that, let's go for a referendum. That way we have a president who can actually get rid of the deputy. And they will bring in this new. Because remember, I told you, Raila has begun, not only Raila, Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, and all of them, they've been gunning for a change of the constitution since I don't know when. Since the inception of this constitution, they've been gunning for it. They just don't know how to bring it about. But the only way they can bring it is to create a crisis where they can use to justify bringing in this plebiscite, referendum, for people to vote. That's the whole point. I keep on telling people. That's why you keep on. Even Morara was saying, if you had him right in the Spice FM interview, he also said, if it was up to me, I would like to change the constitution so that the president can actually fire the deputy president. Okay? If you listen to Eric Omondi says what? We should change the constitution because we are overrepresented. These governors, these MPs, I don't know, these MCAs, is too much. We should change the constitution. And isn't it ironic or coincidental? A coincidence that when Morara was shouting out everyone who has been supporting him, he mentioned Eric Omondi and what's his name, Jimmy Wanjigi, and so forth, so forth. They're all in one circle. And I played your video of Raila Odinga in that Ninio, in that funeral some months back, when he said that we should look at the constitution and see what we don't like. And what they've been wanting to change this. They just don't know how to bring it. So they want to bring an issue that will raise the political temperatures. Then they shall tell us that, hey, the only way to solve this is to change the constitution in order to fix this problem. Oh, we cannot impeach Nani. We cannot impeach Rigathi Gachagua. Okay. Well, this is what we are going to do. We are going to create a new constitution that accommodates Rigathi Gachagua, Ruto, Oscar Sudi, all these idiots. Okay. That's the whole point. Because that's what they want. They want permanent Ninio. When they're talking about shares, and Rigathi was kind of highlighting that. They want shares, but shares not to the people, shares amongst these so-called tribal chieftains, who are basically tribal thieves, crooks. They were tangulars, non-criminals, okay? Who unfortunately is the speaker of a house or something like that. Non-criminals. So pay attention to what these people say. That's why Morara, I know. He's basically regurgitating everything that Jimmy Wanjigi or Nani Eric Omondi, Raila Odinga was saying. Of course, he's dressing it up by reminding us how the so-called political class are taking advantage of us and our resources, and how Wazungus are extracting our natural resources. So pay attention. Always pay attention to what they say. Right now, they set the agenda. If you go to every platform, and I don't blame other platforms, it's understandable. The talk is impeachment. Everyone is talking about how Gachagua is being targeted. Everyone is mentioning how these 11 grounds of impeachment are just not there. Everyone is talking about that. What is the major topic? Gachagua and Morara. Yeah, it's a distraction. They set the agenda. They want to create this political zeitgeist. Temperatures to be high. That is the point. That is the point. So while we listen and we participate in these discussions about what's going on and all this drama, pay attention to what really matters. The holy grail in all this is our constitution. That's the holy grail. Okay? And I would like to read this one more time because Nelson Amenya, the person who actually broke and exposed this Adani deal, makes a really, really good case in this about the whole idea of distraction. Okay? I have 3 minutes left. I will read it again because it's very important you understand how this is being worked out. They want to overwhelm you with different stories and different whatever. Now, here it is one more time, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I'll read it. Rule by distraction regarding impeachment. To rule by distraction is a time-tested tool of autocratic and authoritarian regimes. It is a go-to move for non-democratic regimes when faced with a challenge, domestic or international. As the name suggests, this approach is simple but effective. The idea is to create enough chaos and distraction that all eyes remain on that. The key is to make, in quote, normal a moving target, i.e., change what it means to be normal on a regular basis. Doing so allows for drastic steps to take place behind the smokescreen and distractions. Why this is dangerous for democracy? A democracy relies on checks and balances in the system. For example, our failed parliament. Transparency through checks and balances allow people to continue trusting the governance institutions. Unless the people trust the governance institution, they will not trust the democracy. In quotes, rule by distraction situation, the survival of the administration depends on people not being able to process complete information. By creating multiple simultaneous distractions, the administration overloads the attention of its citizens. In essence, then, they are not lying to people. They are just creating enough alternative explanations that truth becomes debatable. Add political polarization to this and consistent bashing of the other side, and you have a loyalist ODM, UDA following locked up that will disregard anything that questions the government. Msibebe akili watu wangu. I couldn't make it more clear. Basically, while this polarizing process of impeachment of the deputy president, we are busy talking about what the deputy president have said before, what he owns, what he's been accused of, and how these politicians, these MPs, were really animated while, trying to pin him down. All this makes the country become polarized, divided, okay? Which is their goal, number one. That's why you see the Kalumas are very, very passionate when they're speaking about their region, speaking about the Luo Nation and the ODM, right on about Raila Odinga. The people of Mountain, it's their time to let us also enjoy. You see what I'm saying? It's meant to polarize, okay? So we are distracted. And while you are still polarized, there's a Morara who is being seen as the alternative is getting arrested. So we are, Morara is being arrested. Oh, crap. Okay. Oh, today, the National Assembly have passed the motion, voted to pass the motion that Nani will be impeached. Okay. You see, there's always a moving target. You see that? That's what he's talking about. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's been 1 hour. I just wanted to mention that. Among others, I will come in later on this evening and we shall speak on other news that's happening. Thank you so much. If you are watching, please like the video. And if you're going to watch this and repeat, do not wait. Go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment, and put your notification on. So every time I come in, you can always find me. And I will put the link in if you want to join the studio to have a face-to-face discussion on this. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys later. Peace and blessing.